Hello, my name is Mark Wilson, and I'm going to be talking about why we need a criminal reform of a justice system here in the United States. Well, according to the National Register of Exonerations, the United States of America has more wrongful convictions than any other country in the world. This is a startling and worrying statistic in a country where over 25,000 people are currently on death row. A few years back, it kind of opened my eyes to the situation. I was purchasing something through Facebook Marketplace and I met a man called Ben. He was in his 50s, and when he was about 18, he got into trouble with law. I think it was on a drug charge, and he ended up going to prison, and he was in and out of prison for the rest of his life because every time he come back to the out of prison, he could never get a job, he couldn't get credit, he couldn't do a lot of things, so it really held him back. And you could argue that he was unjustly stuck in the prison system. Well, not in the prison system, but in a system. And, unfortunately, there are many people stuck in that position within the US. In case you haven't heard the story of Khalif Browder, it's streaming on Netflix at the moment, but I just want to fill you in on his story. Khalif Browder was wrongly accused of stealing a backpack in 2010. He was arrested and his bail was set at $3,000. Now, he couldn't afford the bail, his family couldn't afford to bail him out. He hadn't stolen the backpack, he refused to admit he was guilty, but he waited in Rikers Island for 3 years until his court date, where he was eventually acquitted and sent home. Unfortunately, that whole ordeal took its toll on him and he ended up committing suicide. And Khalif Browder is not alone. There's about 2.3 million people currently in the US awaiting trial. So they're not guilty, they're just accused. And there's 2.3 million people, who could be at home carrying on with their jobs, their lives, until their court date. So if you're saying, well, bail's here for a reason, what about, making people accountable and showing up for court? Well, 30 years ago, Washington, D.C. got rid of the bail system, and the overwhelming majority of cases, people are showing up for their court dates on time. So you can't really argue that we need to have bail to get people to show up in court, because they'll show up anyway. And another factor I feel we need to touch on apart from the bail is over-criminalisation. And what I mean by that is victimless crimes, really. People who end up getting stuck in the justice system or getting excessive punishment. One such person is Abner Schuenwetter. He is 64 years old, food trader. And in 1999, he bought some lobsters to sell on. Now, the lobsters I know lobsters have to be a certain size, or you have to throw them back so they have time to breed. And he purchased these lobsters, sold them on, and he ended up getting 6 years in prison for that. Now, yes, he committed a crime, but 6 years in prison, what's he going to do for the rest of his life when he gets out and has that kind of trauma? This is what I mean about people getting unjustly stuck in the system. So now you can begin to develop a clearer picture of why we need this reform. A justice system totally failed Keith Browder in many ways. But it is a complex issue and it needs a lot of attention. But there are some organisations that are tackling this head on, such as Reform Alliance, which was formed by Jay-Z and Meek Mill. They are leveraging their celebrity status to achieve policy reform and improve outcomes for those who go through the correctional system. And Kim Kardashian is another celebrity name that's got herself involved and trying to do a bit of good there. But you can visit the Reform Alliance website at www.reformalliance.com. And if you would like to see what Kim Kardashian's up to, her project is streaming on oxygen.com. So together we can all advocate towards a better justice system with constant projects emergence such as the aforementioned. And we can start to see some great benefits. Taxpayers' expenditure will reduce, future employment for the incarcerated and will overall decrease with the criminal activity. But most importantly, it's another step towards a fairer society. So what can you do right now to help with the situation? Well, you can help end mass incarceration by letting your local political representatives know your stance on the subject, and you can support projects such as Reform Alliance by contacting them through their website and making a contribution to help work for a fairer and more effective criminal justice system. I never ever want to hear a story like Khalif Browder's again, but we more than likely will unless we advocate for this change. Just to be clear, on a final note, I'm not calling for a nation to take a relaxed stance on crime. That's not it by any means. But we need to be compassionate, we need equality, and we need to allow redemption and rehabilitation. So a donation to a worthy cause or to email your local representative would really help us achieve this as we continuously strive for a better, fairer place to pass on to our children. Thank you.